Hey, everybody. I'm Donna,
I'm Diana.
and we are sisters and quantum healers. So, our topic today for our fireside chat, welcome to the fireside. Our topic today is a second clearing and cleansing topic, specifically clearing and upgrading our physical spaces to support our overall wholeness. And so, to start out, I would love to read an excerpt from a Seth book. We are big Seth fans. Do you want to tell why we're big Seth fans?
Well, he came into my awareness and I guess great interest a few years ago because of my dreams. And I was having such powerful, memorable dreams and really wanting to understand more of what the messages were coming through to me. And I was directed to him by another quantum healing practitioner. And I had known of him many years ago, and I had read, I think it was Seth Speaks, or tried to, and it just was not,
Wasn't time.
wasn't time. Yeah, exactly. So for some reason, this time it was time, and I picked up, I think, The Nature of Your Personal Reality. And it was like, oh my goodness, because it went right along with everything we had been learning through the quantum healing sessions and being, in that world. And man, it has just aligned. It's one of those things, I think, for you too, of how I'll have something going on in my life and I'll go and grab a book and open it up and it will speak right to that thing. So that's one of the reasons I love him.
Well, and for anybody who's not familiar with what we're talking about, the Seth books, Seth was an energy personality channeled by Jane Roberts back in the 1960s, 70s, and early 80s. And Jane Roberts then died, transitioned in 1984, I believe. But there are a lot of books out on these decades of Seth speaking through Jane. And it addresses the nature of personal reality and just all the things, all the parts of being human and how we construct reality, and so much information. And one of the reasons why I love it is so much of it is proven to be true, even in our sciences. What Seth talked about is now being demonstrated and explored in all the quantum mechanics, quantum physics. So it's really cool over time to see the things that Seth talked about and introduced, the concepts he introduced, and how we now use that every day. And back then, most people had no idea what he was talking about, or humanity wasn't there yet. So an excerpt from a book called The Early Sessions, book 8. And this was this session where Seth is saying this was July 6th of 1967. Okay. Titled Old Energetic Patterns in the Home. Seth. Objects and conditions within the habitual environments become charged with various emotions, to which you can then rather automatically react without questioning their validity. Now, this sort of thing operates in good as well as poor circumstances. Rupert's morning symptoms, for example, I told you why he had them, but they've become associated with certain objects and surroundings which serve as an automatic perpetuation in varying degrees. Simple alterations in the objects can therefore result in a quite real change of pattern, the psychic pattern, to disrupt the association. Painting is a wholesale change, for example. In other words, the ghosts of past emotions or energetics can linger. A complete house cleaning, a change of details within the environment, are all practically beneficial and of great help, great benefit in relieving lingering symptoms. The change of bedroom color is highly important, and this is why I suggested it. Remove the rug. It should not be used again. Rearrange the paintings in the bedroom. These are important details. The chests in the bathroom should be painted. The bookcase there, which was just moved in, breaks up old conditions and is good. The chests should be covered as soon as possible to break up associations. Rupert should change the arrangement of his clothes in those chests. The shoes should be kept in another place than the accustomed one. These measures will all help in disrupting any lingering energetic patterns you see. I would suggest a change in the kitchen if any are remotely possible. If no major rearrangement is possible, minor changes should be made. I cannot emphasize too strongly the breakup of associations that will result. This will aid in the complete disappearance of symptoms. Otherwise, you could have lingering symptoms, and he's speaking here of health symptoms. Otherwise, you could have lingering symptoms, though minor ones, while these habitual objects lost their associative powers. The associative conditions are not Rupert's alone. Once projected upon the objects, they become part of the objects until some alteration is made. The alteration actually changes atomic alignments and shakes off such influences that have been soaked up. Speaking to Joseph now, you, Joseph, have rationalized your window arrangement. You have the windows covered with the plastic winter weatherproofing material as a self-punishment. It prevents you from seeing clearly a view that you deeply love. The rug should be removed. You do not like it. End of quote.
Well, and I think how this came into our chats that we've decided to share with you guys, hopefully it helps you like it helps us to talk about it and explore it, is in our own lives and environments, and how the tuning into this, bringing conscious attention to it, man, it's amazing the information that's available. And my most recent thing is thinking of, you're really good at this. You change things out all the time and keep such a clear, spacious environment. And this holiday, yeah, I love it. That's why I love working. We work at her house. My tiny house has its value too, but it's just a different experience. And this winter, you got super inspired with snowflakes and Christmas decorations, and it was all completely different. She's had amazing stuff in the past, but something was just different about it this year for you. Like you felt so much joy and intentionality in it, it seemed like. And that really reflected when I came in and was like, wow, what's going on here? And that's what started to spark this ongoing conversation that we've been having, and in ourselves. And then other people have been asking us, like we talked about in the first video, to help them with clearings and the clearings of houses and properties. But now it's like bringing it closer to home. And in my own experience, my tiny house goes in and out of it. And because I've curated it to live in 350 square feet, there's a lot of meaningful objects in there. And the time comes when some of them have to go. And it's, I sit in there and I look around and I appreciate and have gratitude. And then there's some things, like just recently, a little rug I've had forever that's just been driving me nuts. It's always dirty. It's always in the way. And I finally was like, off with you, you're going. And then you got me a mushroom rug. And that little rug of joy keeps moving around my house till it found its home. And it was not where I would have thought, but it's that item that had such a feeling of gratitude and fun and playfulness to it, that now it's the centerpiece in my whole living room. Oh, kitchen.
That was a random walking by it in Ross find, by the way.
Was it?
Just super random.
Yeah. Well, and even little things like that matter, because you did that. And then our other sister, Fern, found on, I don't know, Facebook Marketplace, this little mushroom table, stool, plant holder, whatever. Well, it's the perfect tiny house coffee table. And those two things, I was like, I can let go of everything else in here. It feels different, which is those items.
Yeah. Well, and I love how Seth talks to the actual connection energetically between our physicality, our emotional and our physical body, and our mental, the way we operate and the way we think, and our physical environment, our spaces. And I think of it as our home our vehicle, and our place of work. So the places that we spend the most time in, and how they're such an extension of us, of our energy field. And so often we miss that.
Yeah.
But we all know how good it feels to declutter, to get rid of stuff, to have less things, to have new things, to have things that bring us joy. So we really want to address this because we've both gotten a lot better and grown in really curating our environments the same way we would curate our knowledge, our physical bodies, nourishing and exercising those, and our spirits, our work, our trauma work, and all those other things. Really addressing and paying great attention to our environments are just as important as any of those other pieces. I wanted to share, because I think this is such a fun example. So my husband, Roy, many of you know, is a firefighter, full-time firefighter in a small town up here in the mountains. And he and his crew run way more medical calls than they do actual fire calls. And most of the time, the homes they respond to are for medical calls, and the homes are not maintained, not nice. They tend to be very chaotic, a lot of times very, very dirty, even levels of kind of disgusting that is very shocking to the firefighters, even though they've all done this for years and years and decades. A lot of hoarding. So these calls that they respond to, and particularly far and above the people who have the worst health, so the most medical conditions, or just are in the very poorest of health, that is always reflected. Like, I asked Roy, I checked with him, always? He's like, yeah, always reflected in their environment. They don't go to nice homes and find somebody who is in very, very poor health. When they go to nice and well-maintained homes, it's truly an accident. Somebody fell off the roof or when they go to homes to change out maybe a smoke detector or a CO detector that is way too high, like the homeowner has no way of reaching it and it's just going off all the time, or whatever, the fire guys are able to help them with that. And those people who really maintain those types of things, their rest of their home is maintained too. So it's just an interesting, I thought, example of how the correlation between our physical beingness, our emotional or mental wellness, and all that in our physical spaces. So
I think it's interesting too, the discussion of moving in and out of it, because I'm thinking of a recent client where we did her session in her home, and she was wanting to really access deep feelings of love and gratitude, appreciation, connection. And her house was so sterile and so perfect and so devoid of objects that to me would symbolize those things that she was wanting to access. And I was like, isn't this interesting? Because there does have to be some sort of interplay, right? I know for me that I go in and out of it. I will cleanse and clear my space, both energetically and physically, and it feels so peaceful and wonderful. And then items will start to come back in, and my, eternal stack of papers that grows no matter how many times I make it go away will come back in. And so I will move more towards this, or I might maintain the spaciousness for a while. But just that the interplay of the meaning of the objects and what we do within our environment, and so for me, I'm always looking for it to feel good all the time. And I can maintain that for a while, but then it does come to the point, but it's almost like it's letting me know. My car was the same way. I'll talk about my car experience soon next if you want, but it's almost like a way of letting me know, like, hey, there's some attention that needs to be paid to this area of me inside me. And so when I've started to see it in that way, it's a great alert It's like the red flag of like, okay, you're getting a little out of balance over here. Um, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I was just thinking while you were saying that we refer to our homes as our sanctuaries, our retreats, right? Our sanctuaries, our safe places. And our bodies are also referred to, like in the Bible and other places, as a sanctuary. So that's a fun correlation.
Yeah.
And really, I have intended and put a lot of work over the last several years into making my home a place I absolutely love to be. And although we do travel a lot, I love coming home. Like I don't need to leave to have a vacation, from my home or from my life.
Yeah.
And that's a really good feeling, and it only came about by intention. But yeah, our vehicles are such a
It's
big
another
part,
thing.
such a big reflection. And sometimes we need to see stuff on the exterior to recognize what's really going on inside of us. And so I think this is just a tool more than anything to look at our environments, look at our home, look at our vehicles, the state of them, how well we do or don't take care of them, how we view them, will really tell us a lot about ourselves. So guess who just got a new car?
Yeah, and it's interesting how this factors in, right? Everything's connected. And I was telling Donna that when I went through this, and I had my old car for 11 and a half years, long time. It's almost a quarter of my life. Wow. And so a lot of memories, a lot of miles, almost 250,000 miles I put on that baby, and drove her coast to coast, and broke down a lot, and also carried me around a lot, and was a complete and utter mess a lot of the time. And I always said, well, I'm putting more attention in myself than my car, which is now giving me points to ponder, because I'm like, because when I did the trade and I was pulling my last bags out, I was also feeling the time crunch, because I needed to get back to Colorado Springs to an event. And so I felt like I had to rush. But even that rush, I felt this like discordance of, I'm not giving this the time and attention that it deserves for serving me in that way for this long.
You mean to make the transition between your old car and your new car?
Yeah, to let go of the old car. And she's broke down in so many ways. That's why I'm doing this. And yeah, the transition between them. And so it wasn't just about getting all my stuff out and, oh, I'm going to throw this away and do that. It was also a deeper energetic and emotional thing. And I said, thanks for the years, and I'm off, hop in my new car, start the drive back, and it felt incomplete. And I was like, what is it that feels incomplete? Well, what it was I needed to go through the acknowledgement and the gratitude and the honoring of all the time that I spent in that car, and all the struggles I had with it, and all the ways it supported me. And so it really got me thinking about, in this energetic clearing of our spaces connected to the physical clearing of it. Yes, these might be signs of inner chaos or the struggles we go through, all the events and experiences of our lives. But part of transitioning and the letting go and the changing, the clearing, is the acknowledging, the honoring, the expressing gratitude, and the learning that came along with all of these shifts. And so as I did the hour and a half drive back, that's what I was doing, is going through that and crying, grieving, and then also just appreciating all of that. And so it became this honoring ritual. And then I felt free and clear. And then the other piece of that for me was aligning to the new car, the fresh blank slate, and putting into that the intentionality of what I wanted that to be for me, and really grounding into that. So it got me thinking of that in the house too, of this, what does it bring me joy? What do I need to release? Well, on both sides, there is a awareness of what it has done for me or what it can do for me. So yeah, that was such a amazing experience and learning experience for me, that all of these things are really an extension of me. And it's not just an inanimate object. It's not just a couch or a house or a car or a chair. It's everything that it's symbolized, which is why I drew it in the first place.
Well, and like Seth said, which so resonated with me, these objects absorb our energy
Yes.
and hold our energy. And so when we move along in life
Mhm.
and never change the objects in our life,
Mhm.
that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yep.
The other part of that, I meant to say this, is I was really feeling, and we talk about clearing our houses, right? Like I clear my house after every person that comes in, and sometimes more than that if I want to. But with this new car, it felt really important to release all of the energy that was connected to the previous owner, and everybody else had put energy into that car, test driving it at the dealer, whatever. It felt important to clear all of that out and claim my sovereignty and ownership over it, and then start to invite in the energies I wanted to be there. And you know, in our homes too, with items and objects that go in and out. I've done that before, and I'm sure you have too. It's just a more conscious way of relating to these things that we're putting energy into.
Yeah.
And if there's already energy in there, guess what? We're in the field.
Yeah. It's gonna impact us.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I had a closing thought.
Did I steal it from you?
No, it's just flown away. It was along the lines of, what do we really want? When the new year comes along, it's such a good time, and it's kind of a great thing that we've all gotten in the habit a little bit of really examining what do we want? What do we want to create? Of kind of giving ourselves the grace, the opportunity of a blank slate to some extent. And which is also why we're talking about this now. This all figures in. What do we really want to create in 2025 and beyond? And what do we need to clear, get rid of, honor, let go of, change out, bring in? What do we need to do with all of these environments, all these holders of our energies to accomplish that which we really want in 2025?
Yeah. Well, and I would just add to that, allowing ourselves to be okay with that's different than it used to be. Like doing things different, wanting different things. I walked into my closet the other day, and I love my clothes, they're curated too. And I was like, I don't want anything in here. And it was a shocking thought actually for me. I was like, "Ooh, where's this coming from?" But I love that you brought that in of what do we want, and do we allow ourselves to go with what we want, especially when it's something vastly different than we have wanted before.
Well, and just the mixing up of, when somebody precious to us gives us something, or we have items from our dearly beloved departed grandmother, or a sibling or a spouse or a child, somebody very close to us, and we have objects that represent them. And of course they do. Those objects have absorbed their energies to a certain extent. And so we tend to hold on out of nostalgia, and we confuse, I can't let go of these things because I'm throwing them away in some sense, in some way. And that all gets mixed up in there. And when it comes to clearing out and changing out things, right? It's not simple, but it is something that we can really contemplate and see what feels right. Is it time to let these things go, to honor them, thank them, and pass them along in some way, replace them?
Yeah, release them to their next life. That's what I told my car. I called her Ruby. Is I release you to your next life, and she's going to get a whole new facelift and have a whole new experience. And so will I.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for the feedback that you're finding this helpful, because that is helpful to us to say, hey, this is really meaningful. I've learned a lot, and we want to share that. So I just want to say thank you for that feedback.
Yes. I echo that. Appreciate you guys.
See you next time.